Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, Maria Leonor G. Robredo. Please remain standing for the entry of colors. The Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, pelas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisigil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng wataw at mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhating pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na may maghati, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the presentation ceremonies of the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Awards. The RMAF trustee, Aurelio Luis Montinola III.
Since the Ramon Magsaysay Award was first presented 61 years ago, Asia has changed tremendously for the better. Working from their respective societies, over 300 Magsaysay laureates have contributed much to these transformative changes. Through their greatness of spirit and selfless leadership, our awardees have shaped the region's economic progress, advanced the growth of democracy, and promoted equitable human development, particularly in eliminating the scourge of hunger, disease, ignorance, and intolerance. They have created solutions that have responded to these problems in compassionate, pragmatic, and empowering ways. But still, despite Asia's undeniable progress, some of the region's seemingly intractable problems persist to this day. Millions of Asian lives remain impoverished, vulnerable, conflicted. And so, we continue to search for solutions, efficient, affordable, sustainable solutions, and to learn from them. As the Magsaysay Award enters its 7th decade, the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation focuses on the solutions our laureates have created. Understanding what they are and why they work, exploring how they can be shared and replicated in other contexts, seeing how these solutions might be improved and scaled up to impact even more lives. This afternoon, we begin to tell the story behind the many solutions crafted by the Magsaysay awardees. We call these stories, quote, "The Power of Asian Solutions," unquote. Through the Ramon Magsaysay Transformative Leadership Institute, RMTLI for short, we offer them to a world looking for hope and inspiration. The first of our series on the power of Asian solutions is the story of 2017 Magsaysay awardee Tony Tay and Willing Hearts. We invite you to listen to this story.
You can buy them with the money? The smart? When they smart, can you buy with the money? This is what we do in the early stage. Just drive and then give. So they have some breakfast.
This is Singapore, one of the world's wealthiest countries, with a GDP of $364 billion in 2018. Yet hidden in this rich Asian economy is a universal problem that remains generally unseen: food for those who badly need it. Of its 5 million residents, 10% of Singapore live with daily hunger. People who are marginalized by displacement, disability, joblessness, illness, and old age have no access to food. One man faces the problem of hidden hunger head-on by the simple act of cooking food for those who need it. His name is Tony Tay, a Singaporean businessman who grew up in an orphanage. He went full circle when he decided to start his life's work. Willing Hearts, a volunteer-driven community whose singular goal is to feed the hungry with nourishing hot meals that warm them every single day. The Willing Hearts movement answered a universal hunger problem with a genuine, empathetic solution backed up by operational efficiency. Every day, over 100 volunteers of different ages and social classes come to cook, pack, and distribute these meals in quiet assembly lines. Mornings begin at 4 a.m. with preparations, ensuring ingredients are used wisely, cooked and packed lovingly, all ready for delivery by 9 a.m. Logistics are planned like clockwork, from plotting routes and tapping volunteer drivers who vary from taxi drivers and private car owners to deliver the food to 16 distribution centers all over the city. Throughout the day, donations from warehouses, hotels, and other establishments are collected by the truckloads. Back in the kitchen, volunteers chop and prep raw ingredients for the next day, committed to do the same thing all over again. This harmonious orchestration is based on the pillars of work that Willing Hearts implements. All volunteers and donations come with no obligations or prescriptions and are based entirely on trust and the willingness of all parties. There are no questions asked, no follow-ups made when donors or volunteer workers discontinue their contributions. There are no fundraising, public solicitation, or donation campaigns allowed. As long as food donations are safe to consume, Willing Hearts resourcefully accepts and makes use of whatever is available. All beneficiaries must be treated with dignity, inclusivity, and compassion, respecting their culture, faith, and unique circumstances. With Tony's hands-on leadership, the organization nurtures relationships with volunteers, donors, NGOs, and the Singaporean government. The credibility that the Willing Hearts community has gained is largely due to their transparency, as partners can easily access facilities, operations, and records. But sophisticated systems are nothing without the genuine and deep compassion of volunteers to serve the marginalized day after day after day. Willing Hearts' success proves that volunteerism is a universal and sustainable force that can be harnessed through a friendly, non-bureaucratic system that makes it easy for people to participate. What is born is a community of 50,000 different volunteers a year who willingly answer a problem with basic kindness.
Well, it's always nice to help around, and you feel great when you're doing something good for the people.
Anybody need a meal, I'll give to you. With no question asked. You can say you need a meal, I give it to you.
We are here to help them, to do something for them. You know, it may not be a lot, but it is at least some food for them on a daily basis.
In Willing Hearts, you can just drop by or do whatever you can help or contribute.
Nobody will tell you what to do when you come here. You can pretty well just gel in with the packing, with the cooking, with cutting the vegetables.
Since onion is one of those things and nobody else likes to cut, so I volunteered to do that. And I come to Willing Hearts only to cut onions.
In 16 years, Tony Tay's daily feeding program has expanded, delivering 6,750 hot, nutritious meals every single day, rain or shine. That is a total of 2.46 million lovingly prepared meals that nourish at least 6,750 hungry persons consistently throughout the year. It is an Asian feat done by the power of the collective and a simple premise that food is a force for human connection, nourishing not just our bodies, but also our shared human spirit. Willing Hearts has created a family for the marginalized. It has nurtured the lives of the unseen through compassion and developed even more willing hearts in Singaporean society. That is the true genius of Magsaysay awardee Tony Tay and the Willing Hearts community.
You work as a family, what you call kampong way of life, try to get them a place which they can go back and call home.
The Chair of the Board of Trustees, Ambassador Jose L. Quisha, Jr.
The Honorable Maria Leonor Robredo, Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines, former Philippine President Fidel V. Ramos, our honored awardees, past and present, members of the family of the late President Ramon Magsaysay, represented by Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr. and Mrs. Mila Magsaysay Valenzuela, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, government officials, members of the Board of Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, family members and friends of our awardees, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. We are truly grateful to you, Madam Vice President, for having honored us with your presence for the 4th straight year. We are truly and I know that you just returned from the United States this morning, so you must be very tired, yet you were able to come here. We're truly delighted to see you, Madam Vice President. Every year, for the past 60 years, we have celebrated in a big way what for many, the best of humanity at best, at least in this part of the world. The Ramon Magsaysay Award is now widely recognized as Asia's premier prize and highest honor, born out of the tragedy that prematurely took away a beloved Filipino president and much admired Asian leader. The Ramon Magsaysay Award was created in 1957 to honor individuals and organizations who exemplify the same values and ideals that animated President Ramon Magsaysay's democratic leadership and selfless service to his people. Today, we are doing it again for the 61st time, for the same reasons and with the same joy as the Foundation has done in the past 6 decades. Why do you keep doing it? Many may ask. Certainly, it is not simply out of habit or to maintain a tradition. I would like to offer 4 reasons for our gathering here today. First, we give the Magsaysay Award year after year because what the award honors is still out there. Greatness of spirit in selfless service to the peoples of Asia can still be discovered in each of the region's countries. Truly, there is inspiring good news in Asia. Second, because we all need good news, especially in these times of overwhelming conflict, disaster, social division, negativism, and despair. Then too, because the good news of Asia needs to be celebrated and widely shared. By celebrating our awardees' life work that is both significantly purposeful and is successfully improving lives, we encourage them to do more and inspire others to emulate their example. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we come to meet and thank each of the year's Magsaysay awardees in person or virtually via the wonders of live streaming, because they are creating quiet ripples of change in their societies, ripples that over time become a forceful groundswell of positive transformation in the lives of countless others. As our opening video, named The Power of Asian Solutions, has shown, many of the stories of individual Ramon Magsaysay laureates, which were first celebrated in award ceremonies like today's, have become solutions that have been shared widely, spawning a sea change that is making the world a better place for us as well as for future generations. 2017 Magsaysay awardee Tony Tay's story and his Willing Hearts solution are among many more that we plan to share with the world. So I warmly welcome you in today's celebration of 5 more amazing stories from the individual life work of our 5 2019 Ramon Magsaysay awardees, adding to those of the 330 awardees who have preceded them. Shortly, our Magsaysay awardees this year, 1 woman and 4 men, with ages ranging from 41 to 72, will be presented to you. For now, please allow me to share a few perspectives on the 2019 awardees and their stories. The stories of this year's Magsaysay awardees are in many ways very different from each other. Kim Jong-ki has been working for 25 years to reduce teenage suicides and youth violence in South Korea. Ko Swee-win, 41 years old and editor-in-chief of an online newspaper in Myanmar, has been unearthing and exposing hidden, painful, even dangerous social realities since 2015. Ravish Kumar, through his path-breaking daily news program in India, has been giving voice to the voiceless and speaking uncomfortable truth to power over the past 8 years. Kung Angkana Nila Paijit has been redressing human rights abuses in Thailand and fixing a flawed legal system since her husband's forced disappearance in 2004. And Raimundo Pujante Cayabyab, iconic composer, performer, and teacher, has been shaping his country's musical culture, seeking out and unleashing the power of raw musical talent in the Philippines for the past 4 decades. Diverse as their contributions may be, today we celebrate what these awardee stories have in common. What personal values, character traits, and leadership approaches do they share? These are some answers I have found. Embracing their life work has brought all of them a powerful sense of personal purpose and commitment. All of their advocacies have required the awardees to rise above fear, limitations, opposition, and setbacks. All 5 share and act out of their uncompromising conviction about the fundamental dignity and potential of everyone, especially the ordinary, the little, and the poor person. Theirs are stories replete with courage that has been tested, courage to push the limits of oppressive systems, to challenge widespread prejudice, to correct an unjust status quo. But today, we also celebrate with equal admiration and joy how each of the 5 2019 awardees is decidedly unique, distinctly special, and clearly very different from his or her fellow laureates. Unique in their respective life context or the hand that they have been dealt, Kim Jong-ki and Kung Angkana Nilay Paijit in particular have moved from coping with sudden and devastating personal tragedy to public leadership journeys involving high-impact nationwide reforms of legal systems and the changing of entrenched cultural mindsets. Unique in the tools they have used to advance their respective advocacies, ranging from legislative reform and policy change to investigative journalism to multi-sector social mobilization to creating the People's Newsroom, to Raimundo Acayabyab's unique approach towards shaping cultural identity by empowering young musical composers wherever they can be found. Each is also unique in the obstacles, dangers, and resistance they continue to face. Causeway Win and Ravish Kumar in particular expect continuing serious threats to their lives and those of their colleagues and family members. Finally, each awardee is unique in the measure of their impact on the diverse lives they have touched. Troubled youth and their elders, victims of human rights abuse, the voiceless and the powerless, aspiring, unrecognized musical geniuses. Yes, today is certainly a celebration of all the unique good coming from Asia. Having said all this though, let me end my welcome remarks by sharing with you one last message about today's Ramon Magsaysay Award ceremonies. This I know for sure as we listen to our trustees and awardees this afternoon. We will all be touched, each in our own personal way, by the message of each story and each response. I invite you to make room in your minds and hearts for a fresh dose of hope, faith, and courage. Hope that minds and systems can still change for the better and for the greater good. Faith in the richness of the human spirit and the power of collective positive action. And courage to take simple, principled, personal actions ourselves for the common good, undaunted by what others will or will not do. Just like our amazing 2019 Ramon Magsaysay awardees have done and will surely continue to do. Let us take heart in what an esteemed Magsaysay laureate once said, and I quote, "A Ramon Magsaysay awardee by Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta, reassuringly affirmed," and I quote, "Sometimes we feel that the good we do is just a drop in the ocean, but the ocean would be less without that one drop," unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, I am delighted to welcome all of you to this year's Ramon Magsaysay Award presentation ceremonies. Thank you, good afternoon, and mabuhay.
The members of the Board of Trustees will now read the citations for the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay awardees.
The 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Kim Jong-ki. South Korea has one of the highest suicide rates among the world's economically developed countries. The incidence of teenage suicides is particularly disturbing. Suicide was officially cited in 2005 as the second leading cause of teenage deaths at the rate of 8.2 students per 10,000. The causal factors are complex, but what stands out is that more than 50% of the suicides were directly related to school bullying. In 1995, Kim Jong-ki, a successful marketing executive of a giant Korean company, was at the height of his career when tragedy struck. While traveling in China, he learned that his 16-year-old son, Dae-hyun, had died of suicide, leaving no clues as to the reason. Kim would learn only later from Dae-hyun's friends that it was repeated bullying in school which drove him to end his life. The suicide devastated the family. It was no consolation to them that bullying and school violence were not recognized as life-threatening problems by the government or Korean society. Worse, those who repeatedly inflicted violence on his son continued to bully others. Heartbroken, Kim knew he had to do something to channel his grief and prevent similar youth tragedies. That same year, Kim established the Foundation for Preventing Youth Violence, or FPYV, the first organized effort in Korea to address school violence, a systemic social problem affecting students, families, schools, and the community at large. Given public ignorance of the scale and seriousness of school violence, bullying was dismissed as mere fighting and as a normal occurrence among teenagers. Government and schools did not want public attention on the issue. Victims and their parents were afraid or just did not want to speak out. Boldly, FPYV's initial activity was a press conference where Kim spoke candidly about Dae-hyun's suicide and the bullying that triggered it. This was the very first time the destructive consequences of youth violence were publicly acknowledged. Over the next 24 years, Kim and his staff painstakingly developed a holistic program of detection, protection, and management in youth violence. Kim led FPYV to run wide-ranging anti-bullying campaigns, which included seminars, rallies, concerts, and films. To operate a hotline now handling 30 to 50 calls daily, to dispatch staff in response to urgent cases, and to lobby for needed government policy. A groundbreaking law on the prevention and handling of school violence was finally enacted after 10 long years. Today, FPYV offers counseling and mediation services in partnership with Korea's Ministry of Education. This program pays as much attention to reforming bullies and healing families as it does to protecting victims. A campaign against cyberbullying through a digital citizenship program is ongoing. In 2010, FPYV began offering certificate training programs on youth violence protection, prevention, detection, and management. Since then, thousands of Korean teachers, parents, counselors, police officers, and others have been formally equipped to work on the problem. The impact of Kim and FPYV on their society has been profound. A 2018 survey showed that since FPYV started its campaign in 1995, the incidence of school violence has dropped from 20% to 6%. Yet Kim knows that there is still much work to be done, as he affirms simply, and I quote, "It was God's command that I contribute my life to this cause. It is my promise to my son," end of quote. A promise he has fulfilled not only to Dae-hyun, but to all Korean youth. In electing Kim Jong-ki to receive the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes his quiet courage in transforming private grief into a mission to protect Korea's youth from the scourge of bullying and violence. His unstinting dedication to the goal of instilling among the young the values of self-esteem, tolerance, and mutual respect, and his effectively mobilizing all sectors of the country in a nationwide drive that has transformed both policy and behaviors towards building a gentler, nonviolent Korean society.
Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Robredo, former President Fidel V. Ramos, Trustee of Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, distinguished guests, members of the Magsaysay family, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so grateful to receive such an honorable and prestigious award. This award is the greatest comfort and reward in my life. I used to be a businessman, someone who was tied to work and neglected his family. In my generation, everyone worked very hard. No one had time for their families, and I was like that too. Then one day, I lost my beloved son. He ended up taking his own life, as he was unable to bear violence in school. Suddenly, I became the most miserable father in the world. The shock and sorrow of my losing my son drove my family to despair. Wishing for forgiveness from my son and taking responsibility for my son's death, I left my job and got into solving problems for the youth. I started with raising awareness of the reality of school violence and providing counseling for students and families who suffered from it. However, we faced huge challenges from beginning. Not only the absence of experts or studies on school violence, but also the disapproval of education authorities made our work more difficult. But I could not stop because it was the promise I made to my son. Since then, I've never looked back and dedicated all my energies and fortune to changing the perception and responses towards school violence with unceasing determination. I led a nationwide campaign to gather signatures, receiving support from 470,000 citizens urging the law's passage. This resulted in the Special Act on Preventing School Violence made into law 2004. The law put strong pressure on government authorities and schools to take proper action. Finally, we were able to make positive changes, such as reducing school violence through various campaigns and legislation. Also, education authorities started to build nationwide measures and systems. I'm very proud of these achievements. The work that started from my personal sorrow finally made a difference in the Korean education system and society. Our organization is dedicated to providing counseling, educating teachers and police officers, leading non-violence campaigns, scholarship projects, and international activities. We started with only 5 people. Now we have 340 staff members nationwide. Also, the rate of school violence has dropped from 20% to 6% in the last 24 years. Our organization pursues the values of sincerity, professionalism, and transparency. As it grew to be a leading NGO specializing in youth programs, I am proud that we have contributed to Korean society. I have gone through extreme hardships, but dedicated all my passion, personal resources, and connections to fulfill my goals. Management skills I have attained from my previous work also helped. To be honest, there were many times I wanted to give up, but it was my promise to my son. I finally found peace of mind as I took this work as my destiny and mission from God. As society becomes more industrialized and materialistic, school violence perpetrators and victims are getting younger. And with the internet, incidents of cyber and sexual violence are on the rise. We have to gather our wisdom and efforts to protect our children. Though this award is given to me, I would like to share the honor and prize with our dedicated staff and respectable supporters and volunteers. Taking this award as a stepping stone, I will dedicate myself to making a nonviolent environment, not only for students, but also all human beings. I thank every single person in the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation. Special thanks to my friends and the board of directors of my organization who came here with me all the way from Korea. And my loving wife, who has sacrificed everything for me. I'm sure my son is smiling at me from heaven. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
The 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award for Emergent Leadership, Ko Sue Win. Myanmar has one of the most challenging environments for the practice of journalism in Asia. With its history of military rule and weak civic institutions, building an independent and socially responsible press has to contend with draconian laws, rabid intolerance, repression, and persecution. It is an environment that calls for journalists of uncommon will, professional independence, and a strong sense of justice. Such a journalist is 41-year-old Ko Sue Win. Born in Yangon, he grew up in politically turbulent times and fell victim to state repression early on. In 1998, he was summarily arrested with 67 fellow students for distributing propaganda materials against the ruling military junta. Sentenced to 21 years in jail, he was tortured and starved, but would turn prison into a learning experience. Released after 7 years in prison, he did an online undergraduate program in journalism and with a scholarship finished a master's degree at Hong Kong University. In 2012, he returned to Myanmar. In Yangon, he started as a stringer for Al Jazeera and the New York Times. His first big break came in 2015 when Myanmar Now, an independent online news service, was launched. Myanmar Now focuses on long-term investigative reports in both Burmese and English, which are also available for syndication. With Sue Win as editor-in-chief since 2016, Myanmar Now has built a strong reputation for its well-researched, in-depth articles on critically selected, underreported human rights and social justice issues. Sue Win has continued to face daunting challenges. In 2017, he criticized a powerful ultra-nationalist Buddhist monk, Ashin Wiratu, for purveying hate speech and publicly commending the killer of a Muslim human rights activist. This monk, Sue Win wrote, has desecrated Buddhism and should be punished for endorsing assassination and fomenting hate. Subsequently sued for defamation, he was physically assaulted by Wiratu's supporters and briefly jailed on a trumped-up charge. Illustrating how the law can be bent by the powerful, the trial was held in a location that required Sue Win to travel for 780 miles to and from the trial. A case of blatant harassment, he was forced to make a total of 71 such trips at great personal cost. The judge finally dropped the case on July 2, 2019, because of the plaintiff's protracted non-appearance at court hearings. Sue Win and Myanmar Now draw strength from the fact that they are making a difference. With the current leadership of 350,000, the news service is highly regarded for the quality, balance, and depth of its reporting on high-impact issues, including land grabbing, child labor, and abuse of domestic workers. Risking severe reprisal, it has exposed anomalies in the Myanmar Human Rights Commission, in a political indoctrination program run by the Army for civil servants, in the secret operation of some 50 prison labor camps where prisoners are made to work in quarries and mines, and in the activities of the Association for the Protection of Race and Religion, a movement of xenophobic anti-Muslim extremists. Sue Win is encouraged that public awareness has been raised and that government has responded positively in a number of cases, punishing officials or changing policies. A growing problem in Myanmar and the world, Sway Win says, is that, I quote, intolerance and hostility towards different races and nationalities are being exploited as political weapons. Only the promotion of human rights can help us contain this deplorable trend, end quote. In electing Ko Sway Win to receive the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award for Emergent Leadership, the Board of Trustees recognizes his undaunted commitment to practice independent, ethical, and socially engaged journalism in Myanmar. His incorruptible sense of justice and unflinching pursuit of the truth in crucial but underreported issues, and his resolute insistence that it is in the quality and force of media's truth-telling that we can convincingly protect human rights in the world.
Ko Sway Win of Myanmar will now deliver his response.
Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Roberto, former President Fidel Ramos, trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, distinguished guests, members of the Magsaysay family, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to thank the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for giving me this prestigious award in Asia. But I feel deeply humbled by the fact that there are so many people out there in our country and various parts of the world, more selfless, more honest than I am, but who have never been recognized for the services they render to their respective societies. I am the seventh person from Myanmar and the second journalist to receive this award. The first Myanmar journalist and one of the earliest recipients of this award is Mr. Edward Michael Loyo, who founded the Nation newspaper in 1948. That was one of the most influential newspapers in Southeast Asia. After the first military coup in 1962, Michael Loyo was jailed for 5 years and later forced to leave the country. Professional journalism had been lost in our country since then. The state of oppression, which forced Mr. Loyo to leave his beloved country, has relaxed to some extent following some democratic changes initiated since 2011. According to the current constitution, however, the military remains the most dominant force in our country, which controls key ministries and holds 1/4 of seats in the legislature. The predominance of the military rules, combined with continued clashes in a number of ethnic minority areas and the rise of nationalism, is the major challenge facing the independent media in Myanmar. This situation constantly instills a sense of threat into civil life and the news media. But having passed through various political and social turbulences over the past decades, we have developed a great resilience and a tremendous amount of patience for the problems in our country. None of the people I know in Myanmar expect changes to happen overnight, but we have a firm belief that we are not on the right path towards democracy and liberty, as long as the supremacy of civilian rule has not come into fruition. In this context, journalism plays a crucial role. The kind of journalism that sees the truth, that protects the fundamental rights of human beings, that is not colored by political and religious dogmas, and above all, that is driven not by animosities against anyone or any entity, but by a great compassion for the most unfortunate communities and individuals in the societies. Even though an independent press or press freedom is mostly a byproduct of a democratic political system, we are confident that the independent press can play a vibrant causal role for the growth of democracy and liberty in Myanmar and many other countries in Asia. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
The 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Ravish Kumar. The world's largest democracy, India, has seen the space for an independent and responsible Indian press shrink over the past years. The factors behind this are many. A changing media landscape because of new information technologies, the increased marketization of news and opinions, growing government control, and most worrisome, the rise of popular authoritarianism and religious, ethnic, and nationalist fundamentalisms with their consequent divisiveness, intolerance, and susceptibilities to violence. An important voice against these threats is television journalist Ravish Kumar. Raised in Jitwarpur village in Bihar, Northeast India, Ravish pursued postgraduate studies in history in Delhi University. In 1996, he joined New Delhi Television Network, or NDTV, one of India's leading TV networks, and worked his way up from being a field reporter. After NDTV launched its 24-hour Hindi-language news channel, NDTV India, he was given his own daily show called Primetime, reaching a Hindi-speaking audience of 422 million. Today, as NDTV India's managing editor, Ravish is one of India's most influential TV journalists. His more important distinction, however, comes from the kind of journalism he represents. In a media environment threatened by an interventionist state, toxic with jingoist partisans, trolls, and purveyors of fake news, and where the competition for market ratings has put the premium on media personalities, tabloidization, and sensationalism, Ravish has been most vocal on insisting that the professional values of sober, balanced, fact-based reporting be upheld in practice. His prime-time program takes up current social issues, does serious background research, and presents issues in well-rounded discussions that can run up to 20 or more episodes. It deals with real-life, underreported problems of ordinary people, from the lives of manual scavengers and rickshaw pullers, to the plight of government employees and displaced farmers, to underfunded state schools and the inefficient railway system. Ravish interacts easily with the poor, travels extensively, and uses social media to stay in touch with his audience, generating from them the stories for his program. Striving for a people-based journalism, he calls his newsroom the People's Newsroom. Ravish is not above engaging in some theatrics himself, if he feels it effective, as in an innovative show he did in 2016 to dramatize how debased the discourse had become on TV news programs. After he introduces the show's topic as how TV news programs had descended into a dark world of angry, strident voices, the screen goes dark. And for the next hour, there is nothing but a cacophonous audio of sound bites from actual TV programs, venomous threats, and rants. For Ravish, it is always about the message, dispassionately delivered. As an anchor, Ravish is sober, incisive, and well-informed. He affords his guests the chance to express themselves. However, he does not balk at calling the highest officials to account or criticizing media and the state of public discourse in the country. For this reason, he has been harassed and threatened by rabid partisans of one kind or another. Through all this, he has kept faith with a journalism that puts service of the people at its center. Ravish sums up what he believes a journalist is in the most basic terms, and I quote, "If you have become the voice of the people, you are a journalist," end of quote. In electing Ravish Kumar to receive the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes his unfaltering commitment to a professional, ethical journalism of the highest standards, his moral courage in standing up for truth, integrity, and independence, and his principled belief that it is in giving full and respectful voice to the voiceless, in speaking truth bravely yet soberly to power, that journalism fulfills its noblest aim to advance democracy.
Ravish Kumar of India will now deliver his response.
Namaskar. Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Robredo. Former President Fidel V. Ramos, trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, distinguished guests, members of the Magsaysay family, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen. My world has changed since the announcement of the Ramon Magsaysay Award. Your hospitality has been overwhelming since I landed in Manila. The warmth and affection I have received from the foundation is no less than the honor conferred upon me. You invited me as a guest and made me feel at home. Now I feel like a part of your family. Usually, award ceremonies are brief affairs, but this is different. It has been a humbling experience and makes me feel more responsible than before. Inequality is mostly measured in terms of health and economy, but the time has come for us to take cognizance of knowledge inequality as well. When resources for quality education have confined to a few cities, we cannot even begin to imagine what are the repercussions of this inequality in smaller towns and villages. Clearly, the source of knowledge for a vast multitude is the propaganda machine of WhatsApp University. One cannot entirely blame today's youth, since they have been denied quality education and information. It becomes all the more important to evaluate the crisis of media in this context. if media too begins to function like the WhatsApp university with fake news and fake knowledge, what then would be the consequences for society? It is a good sign that India's citizens have begun to understand this. That is why the congratulatory messages that I am receiving are also replete with worries on how the media has turned rogue in India. Therefore, while I am happy for myself today, I am also filled with sadness looking at the state of the profession I represent. Indian media is in a state of crisis, and this crisis is not accidental or random, but systemic and structural. Being a journalist has become a solitary endeavor, as uncompromising journalists find themselves being forced out of their jobs by news organizations, and those corporate owners are never questioned. Nevertheless, it is heartening to see that there are still some who continue to put their lives and careers at risk to practice honest and meaningful journalism. Some women journalists are speaking out and managing to survive on freelance earning. With the internet still shut down in Kashmir, most major news channels went along with government's stand. Yet, there are some who have dared to report from within that shutdown and face the wrath of the army of trolls. While institutional journalism is facing a crisis, individual journalists are struggling to survive and question authority. Can we restore the sanctity of the news? I do hope audiences will once again realize the value of truthfulness in reporting and the diversity of voices and opinions, because a democracy can thrive only as long as its news is truthful, information is truthful. I accept the Ramon Magsaysay Award. I accept it on behalf of all those readers and viewers who continue to live in areas of knowledge inequality, but have a thirst for good and truthful information and knowledge. Many young journalists realize this challenge. I am confident that in times to come, they will be able to restore the meaning of true journalism. It is possible that they may lose the battle, but sometimes resistance is not a matter of choice. Not all battles are fought for victory. Some are fought for simply to tell the world that someone was there on the battlefield. I accept this award on behalf of all such journalists, and I thank my millions of viewers of NDTV. I thank my wife, life partner Noena, my two lovely daughters, Tanima, Tanisha, and childhood friend Anurag. Once again, I thank the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation. Jai Hind.
The 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award. Ang kana nila Paijit. A predominantly Muslim region in a staunchly Buddhist country, southern Thailand has struggled with religious and ethnic conflict since a separatist insurgency rocked the region in 1948. Insurgency and militarization have exacted a heavy toll. Of the more than 6,000 people killed in the conflict since 2004, some 90% were civilians. These deaths have included the unsolved killings of civil society and human rights activists. One of the more sensational of these killings was the enforced disappearance in 2004 of noted human rights lawyer Somchai Nilapayjit, who was abducted in Bangkok the day after he had publicly accused the military of torturing detainees. Somchai's enforced disappearance and subsequent death was a tragic blow to the cause of human rights in the country and a devastating personal nightmare for his family. But it was also the beginning of a remarkable journey for Somchai's widow, Angkana Nilapayjit, herself a Muslim Thai of humble origins. When her husband disappeared, Angkana was a housewife looking after their 5 young children and a small business. Thrust into a dangerous and public controversy, she valiantly worked to bring the police officers involved to trial, but due to a flawed justice system, they were acquitted. Despite death threats, Angkana continued to seek justice for her husband and other human rights victims. She applied herself to learning the laws, filing legal appeals, and navigating the Thai legal system. She bonded with other victims and worked with civil society groups in and outside Thailand. In 2009, Angkana founded Justice for Peace Foundation, JPF, a network of human rights and peace advocates that documented the human rights situation in southern Thailand, thus raising public awareness and putting pressure on government to act on human rights cases, provide legal assistance to victims, and trained women on human rights and the peace process. Pushing for laws that will criminalize torture and enforce disappearances, JPF and other groups succeeded in getting the Thai government to sign and ratify the United Nations Convention Against Torture in 2007, and the Convention to Protect All Persons from Enforced Disappearances in 2012. Already major victories, even though the implementing rules have yet to be issued. In 2015, Angkana was named Commissioner of the National Human Rights Commission of Thailand, the only commission member with grassroots human rights experience. Despite the skepticism of many, Angkana has taken her appointment seriously, firmly committed to taking the peaceful, legal approach to fighting human rights abuses and to doing what she can in pushing the limits. Quietly non-confrontational, she does not waver in speaking her mind against injustice. As commissioner, she has successfully interceded with the authorities for detainees to have access to lawyers and their families, and for victims to get financial compensation. She firmly took action on cases of arbitrary arrest and detention, and the exercise of freedom of expression and assembly. She has widened her advocacy to address problems like forced child marriages, trafficking of women, and the rights of asylum seekers and refugees. Angkana's term as commissioner ended in July 2019, but there is no doubt she will remain involved in human rights advocacy. This is for her a deeply personal advocacy. People have marveled at the transformation of this self-effacing housewife into a leading human rights defender. But Angkana herself is not surprised. In her soft-spoken and measured tone, she asserts, quote, "Most women experience conflict and violence in a different way than men. They also develop unique skills for resisting, addressing and preventing conflict. The work on justice and peace cannot afford to neglect the constructive contributions of women," unquote. In electing Angkana Nilapayjit to receive the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes her unwavering courage in seeking justice for her husband and many other victims of violence and conflict in southern Thailand. Her systematic, unflagging work to reform a flawed and unfair legal system, and the shining proof she is that the humblest ordinary person can achieve national impact in deterring human rights abuses.
Angkana Nilapayjit of Thailand will now deliver her response.
Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Robredo, former President Fidel Ramos, trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, distinguished guests, members of the Magsaysay family, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen. Today is one of the biggest days of my life. I'm truly humble and proud to stand before such honorable guests to accept the Ramon Magsaysay Award. I would like to express my sincerest appreciation and thanks to the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for this honor. For me, the honor I received today is not a symbol of victory or the end of my and other survivors' struggle for justice and rights. It represents a recognition of the continuing struggle for human rights, justice, freedom, democracy, and the rule of law of all survivors of human rights abuses in my country and in our region. Also, it means that the voice of victims should be heard. As a survivor of a human rights violation and a women human rights defender, I realize that rights, dignity, and human value are very important to all human beings. The continuation of the culture of impunity, militarization, failure of justice system, and the social acceptance of those violations are crucial contexts that have kept in many victims live in suffering and fear. While leading a civil society organization, I had the opportunity to work with many vulnerable groups, especially the vulnerable of the vulnerable, such as victims of human rights violations in southern Thailand. Most of them are women, refugees, and asylum seekers, or grievous women who are victims of gender-based violence. As a former Human Rights Commissioner of the National Human Rights Commission of Thailand, I had the opportunity to work mostly on civil and political rights and women human rights. I found that Many human rights challenges faced by Thailand and other Asian countries, such as violent extremism, poverty, refugee crisis, absence or lack of freedom of expression and rule of law, are only the tip of the iceberg. Colleagues, history tells us again and again of the impact that ordinary heroes bring. Extraordinary in their courage, determination, and commitment, they serve as evidence that every one of us can make a difference to stand for what is right and just. Each and every one of us has a choice to work to promote the upper side rather than the downside of humanity. We all have a sense of responsibility towards each other to respect our diversities while protecting our equality. All of us have a hero inside us that is able to recognize the beauty in all humanity. Again, I would like to thank the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for this prestigious award. Thank you to my colleagues and friends who have always supported me in my work as Women Human Rights Defender and a Human Rights Commissioner. Last but not least, special thanks to my family, my father, and my children, who always stand by me and trust in everything I do. My honor today as Magsaysay awardee has shown the story of an ordinary woman's struggle for justice, democracy, and the rule of law. And this is a big change of women, the family, and the nation. I thank you very much.
The 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, Raimundo Buhante Kayapyap. In a country known for its rich musical culture and blessed with a surfeit of musical talent, to stand out as singular and indispensable is truly remarkable. In the Philippines today, such a musical leader is Raimundo Ryan Buhante Kayapyap. Born in Manila, Ryan's family circumstances were modest, but theirs was a home filled with music, particularly since his mother, an opera singer, took in music students as boarders. Everyone in the house seemed to be either singing or playing an instrument, and Ryan grew up listening to classical music, opera arias, and traditional native songs. To help pay for his university studies in business, he took on side jobs as pianist or accompanist for musical artists. The parents of one such artist, impressed with his talent, gave Ryan a full scholarship to pursue a degree in music instead. From this point on, music would be his life work. Versatile, a consummate professional, and universally liked, Ryan Kayapyap is virtually omnipresent in the Philippine music community today. For over 4 decades, his contributions as a composer, arranger, music director, conductor, performer, and educator have been huge. Ryan started to write music in the late 1970s, making his mark when his composition, Kay Ganda ng Ating Musika, How Beautiful is Our Music, won the grand prize in the first Metro Manila Popular Music Festival and in an international song festival in South Korea in the same year. He went on to win in other competitions and performed widely in the Philippines and abroad. He acted as conductor, arranger, and composer of the award-winning San Miguel Philharmonic Orchestra and Master Chorale. At home in diverse genres and media, chorale and orchestral works, musical theater, opera, and ballet, television programs, film scores, commercial recordings of popular music, Ryan has influenced the shaping of Philippine music culture. He is an iconic figure in the original Filipino music, or OPM movement, to promote a culturally distinct contemporary Filipino popular music. Starting in 1978 and continuing to this day with Phil Pop Music Festival, the OPM movement has spawned thousands of Filipino singers and songwriters. And over the years, Ryan has played a leading role in the movement as composer, trainer, performer, judge, and quite simply, as a powerful inspiration. Ryan is driven by a passion to mentor, educate, and contribute to the flourishing of Filipino musical talent. He has taught at the University of the Philippines, runs a music studio with his wife, and conducts free workshops for thousands of students all across the country. He is a moving force in the Phil Pop Music Fest Foundation and the Elements Music Camp, major initiatives dedicated to music training and promoting Filipino music abroad. Honored in 2018 as Philippine National Artist for Music, he was cited for his music that, quote, extols the exuberance of life and human happiness, thus capturing the very essence of our Filipino soul, end of quote. A guiding light to many, Ryan says, quote, the next generation should be better than us for our country to move forward. For this to happen, we must teach them everything we know at every possible instance. I like teaching, I like sharing what I know, and I like playing music. When I'm doing all these, I'm very happy, end of quote. In electing Raimundo Buhante Kayapyap to receive the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay Award, the Board of Trustees recognizes his compositions and performances that have defined and inspired Filipino popular music across generations. His indomitable, undeterred confidence to selflessly seek, mentor, and promote young Filipino musical genius for the global stage. And he's showing us all that music can indeed instill pride and joy and unify people across the many barriers that divide them.
Raimundo Pujante Cayabyab of the Philippines will now deliver his response.
Vice President of the Philippines, Maria Leonor Robredo, former Fidel V. Ramos, former President Fidel V. Ramos. Trustees of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, distinguished guests, members of the Magsaysay family, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen. The first song I ever wrote was based on a poem I found in the notebook of a schoolmate. I was 12 years old and a freshman in high school. I had no idea that this was the start of a creative music career. And even if my mother, an opera singer, dissuaded all her children to take up a career in music, it was here that I found my calling. Songwriters are chroniclers who write about their happiness, their sorrows, their surroundings, their country, their aspirations, and anxieties. They mirror everything that happens around them, including socio-political changes in society, and write personal stories in the context of their milieu, in a language that transcends time and barriers. When I was starting out as a teacher at the UP College of Music in Diliman, I realized immediately that this was what I would like to do, spend my life teaching music. Teaching all I know to young musicians. My wife and I even started to operate a small music school, teaching non-degree courses in music performance and creative music writing, just to feed a simple desire. A professional musician once asked me, "Aren't you afraid that by teaching everything you know, you're actually divulging trade secrets?" Because of this remark, it became even clearer to me why I wanted to teach. There really are no trade secrets. But even if there were, I would divulge them anyway. Teaching can transform lives. I want everyone I teach to discover their maximum potential. I also want them to be better than me. And because I think this was the basic track I wanted to take, I was able to influence many of my younger colleagues in the music industry to adopt the same vision, to enable the new generation of songwriters to be better than our generation, so that our music community can move forward and thus bring the entire creative music industry to new heights, and hopefully help the country to move forward by becoming leaders and songwriters of new music for the world to hear. Another very compelling vision I share with many of my colleagues is this goal to make the Filipino public aware that our original music is not only a form of entertainment, but a living tradition. It is the binding glue that forms, strengthens, and positively moves the Filipino community, thus rendering it vital and essential to keep on making, promoting, and supporting Filipino-made music. Moreover, it contributes to the vibrant music movement happening in the entire Asian region, affecting the lives of its people. Thank you for this honor bestowed upon me. Thank you to the Board of Trustees. I share this award with all my colleagues in the music industry who tirelessly give their time to accomplish our goal of discovering and training future generations of creative songwriters, and to writing new works to contribute to the music literature of our country and the world. Let me now introduce to you a recent work of mine that will be performed by the Ateneo Chamber Singers under the leadership of Maestro Jonathan Velasco. Ladies and gentlemen, Memorare, a prayer to Our Lady.
Memorare.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you the Vice President of the Republic, the Honorable Maria Leonor Robredo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Kindly take your seats. Former President Fidel V. Ramos, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, former Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr. and the members of the Magsaysay family, Ambassador Jose Cuisia Jr., former Philippine Ambassador to the United States and Chair of the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation, Ms. Carmencita Abella, President of the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation, the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay awardees and the past awardees who are present this afternoon, my fellow workers in government, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. "19 years ago, my husband Jesse stood on this very stage and received the Ramon Magsaysay Award for his work on participatory governance. Accepting the award on behalf of the people of Naga City, he shared how they struggled to implement reforms when he first became mayor in 1988. He said, and I quote, "The recognition accorded me tonight is an honor that our people in Naga most deserve. It is a fitting testimonial on our faith and confidence in a democratic society where people and government actively engage with each other in forging a collective decision. Our people have proven that given the opportunity, we can rise above our parochial interests in the pursuit of common good. Given a choice, we will opt for good government despite the attendant obligations it requires." Close quote. Almost 2 decades after he delivered that speech, and after 7 years of continuing his work since his death in 2012, I find myself standing on the same stage, extolling the lives of 4 brave men and 1 courageous woman who, like Jesse, dared to defy the expectations and conventions of their time. Seeing how things have come full circle, I cannot help but feel a sense of comfort and gratitude, knowing that Jesse's life and legacy have led me here, in the company of modern-day heroes. For the past 61 years, the Ramon Magsaysay Awards has recognized the rich legacy of Asian leadership and commitment on the global stage. More than being an annual tradition, it honors timeless values that bind us as a region: integrity, excellence, empathy, servant leadership, and selfless service. This year, we add 5 more names to the long roster of 330 laureates who have been recognized as prime movers and change makers in their respective fields and discipline. When the first set of laureates received the award in 1958, the world was divided along ideological lines. In Asia, the Cold War system challenged the mindset of new emergent leaders who struggled to maintain peace and order in society. rising from the ashes of war, famine, and crisis. Governments promoted development and economic progress as state projects, hoping to address the inequality among populations. Some leaders turned to authoritarianism and abuse to reach these goals, dispensing the very reason why they were placed in power. One of those who was brave enough to stand up and speak against this system was Mokhtar Lubis, an Indonesian journalist and critic of then-President Sukarno. Receiving the award in 1958, he wrote, and I quote, "Many honest and well-meaning people, faced with difficult and seemingly insurmountable problems, have become persuaded that democratic reconstruction is impossible in Asia. That is why today in Asia, we may find leaders who yesterday were quite willing to die for democracy and human freedom, but are now easily beginning to say that in order to achieve freedom from want, it is excusable to do away with freedom of expression, which is another way of saying that democracy and human freedom may be thrown away for the sake of filling the stomachs of the masses." Close quote. Today, the Asia we inherited is caught up once again in waves of democratic dilemma. New modes of populism, protectionism, and extreme nationalism are shaping government policies and regulations. In some societies, human rights have taken a back seat, and the relevance of traditional institutions are being questioned. Racism, religious extremism, and gender discrimination continue to instill fear in our people, challenging our notions of freedom, privilege, and equality in the 21st century. During these difficult times, it has become far too easy for some of us to forget those who are in need. We need to start measuring our progress not how much wealth we have produced, but by the quality of our lives, especially those among the poor, the hungry, and the disadvantaged. Tonight, the world's eyes are upon us as we face new challenges in pursuit of the noble task of elevating the human condition. As we enter yet another era marked by new scientific discoveries, increasing online interconnectedness, and an impending fourth industrial revolution, we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be Asian today? Tonight, before the peoples of Asia, let us recommit ourselves to the relentless pursuit of peace, social justice, freedom, and reconciliation. At a time when human rights are under attack, when human lives are disregarded, when power is yielded for the benefit of the few, and when democracy is threatened by our very own leaders, we demand for equality, empathy, truth, and accountability. Create safe spaces for dialogue, and as one voice, break the silence and indifference that have long oppressed many of our peoples. Tonight, we turn our gaze with pride and approval towards those who refuse to accept that the use of brute force, violence, and aggression have become the Asian norm. That silencing one's critics is the most effective way to enact and pursue reforms, that ethnic, religious, and gender lines must be drawn in the name of preserving tradition. I would like to believe that tonight the world listens and hopes with us, because among us are those who are brave enough to go to battle against this dark narrative for Asia. Among us are those who keep on fighting the good fight. Among us are true champions of the masses. This is what Ramon Magsaysay Awards is all about. This is what every Magsaysay laureate has stood for in the past 61 years. This is what it means to be Asian today. We live in an era where those who dare to expose the truth are browbeaten until they break apart. But Ko Suen Win's indomitable spirit was no match for those who threatened his commitment to fair, independent, and ethical journalism. Instead of cowering in fear, he continues to lend his voice to the powerless, challenging the way religious and political institutions are run, and seeking redress for injustices committed against different minorities. We have seen how pain and tragedy have led to regret, remorse, and even disillusionment in families and communities. But Kim Jong-ki has shown us that grief can be turned into one of the greatest strengths we can ever possess. Hoping to address the growing cases of bullying and school violence, he brought together parents, teachers, counselors, and police officers to create safer and more caring communities for Korea's youth. In some societies, women still find themselves undervalued and ignored in the national discourse. But ang kana nila Paijit proved that Thai women can inspire movements, break barriers, and lead with great heart and mind. As a staunch advocate of human rights, she worked with civil society to defend the rights of women, children, asylum seekers, and refugees. She continues to challenge the legal system so that, as President Magsaysay once professed, those who have less in life will have more in law. The advent of social media has made it easier for trolls and purveyors of fake news to spread hate and tear societies apart. But Ravish Kumar remains undaunted and stands by the truth, even if it is unpopular to do so. For many years, his commitment to balanced and fact-based reporting remains a bastion of hope for the Fourth Estate. By creating platforms for effective dialogue and citizen participation, his brand of journalism serves as a window of hope and empathy for the entire Indian nation. Nowadays, populism and extreme nationalism are rearing their ugly heads in many parts of the globe, creating tears and divisions in our social fabric. But Raimundo Ryan Puhante Cayabyab's music reminds us that what brings us together holds more power than the things that try to tear us apart. Half prayer and half battle cry. His melodies instill hope, pride, and unity in the nation's soul, teaching every Filipino to dream of a better world. His songs remind us that if we are willing to work together and toil to reach a common goal, what seems to be impossible will always be possible. that someday our songs in some way will bring a bright tomorrow full of love, full of hope, full of joy. Our dear awardees, your struggles remind us that heroic deeds need not always unfold in grand, majestic gestures. Many times, heroism reveals itself in simple, everyday acts of kindness and compassion, of resistance and dissent, of generosity and joyful service. Our dear awardees, you have taught us to reassess our own values and to stand up in the face of abuse and injustice. In a world marred by poverty, inequality, and the breakdown of institutions, you have shown us that it is possible to find better solutions and hold leaders accountable for their actions, that we can build kinder and more nurturing communities for the next generation. Our dear awardees, you have shown every man, woman, and child in our region how to live with courage undaunted. Ladies and gentlemen, as we stand on the shoulders of these Asian giants, we find more reasons to keep fighting and doing the work that needs to be accomplished. Just as we pay tribute to the great Ramon Magsaysay, we celebrate the life and legacy of these 5 great souls, our wellsprings of perpetual hope and titans of compassion and transformative leadership in Asia. In his inaugural address in 1953, President Magsaysay challenged the Filipino nation to build a future worthy of its glorious past. This is the monumental task laid down before us today. Tonight, as we remember those who have gone before us, we too challenge ourselves to give beyond what is asked of us, to empower the weak and vulnerable, and to bring truth, peace, and justice to the margins. On behalf of the peoples of Asia, thank you for spreading your beautiful light beyond your homes, beyond your communities, and beyond your countries. Now that you are Asia's heroes, you will illuminate our paths with your courage, integrity, and selflessness. In our moments of doubt and fear, may we be guided by your flames, so that we too will shine as bright even through the darkest of nights. Thank you very much. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present to you and to the world the 2019 Ramon Magsaysay awardees. Kim Jong-ki of South Korea, Ko Swee-win of Myanmar, Ravish Kumar of India, Angkana Nilapayjit of Thailand, Raimundo Puhante Cayabyab of the Philippines, may we request Vice President Robredo to please join the awardees, and Chairman Quisha too. Once again, we salute our awardees of Undaunted Courage, a 2019 Ramon Magsaysay laureates. Thank you. Thank you. The 2019 presentation ceremonies are now concluded. Thank you very much for your presence. May we request everyone to rise for the exit of colors. May we request everyone to remain standing until after the recessional. All are invited to greet the 2019 Magsaysay awardees at the reception in the lobby. Thank you, good evening, and mabuhay.